Every year, the industry descends on Cannes. This time, I came hunting for the good stuff, not the panels or the press releases, but the real conversations, the people already building with agents. I wanted to know how they're using them today and what the future of work looks like in this era of agentic AI. In partnership with Agentic Advertising Org and Initio, here's what they had to say. All right, I am here with Benjamin Masse. Ben, please introduce yourself.
Yes, hi. I'm Benjamin Masse. I'm the Chief Product Officer of Triton Digital, which is owned by iHeart, but I'm also the inaugural president of AAO.
Welcome on to Agents of Change, Human in the Loop with Agentic Advertising Org here on the Croisette. Glad to have you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. Okay, so a few hot seat questions for today. Where do you trust an agent in your work today? And give me any examples if you have some.
We use agents in a lot of our coding, so whether it's in product management or engineering, so we have plenty of those. And we are starting with transactions. So we do have strict setup to make sure agents are really not behaving unexpectedly, but we
Okay.
are doing some transactions.
We don't want agents behaving badly.
No, exactly, because that would torpedo the whole movement.
It would. Well, you've described AdCP as a protocol for investing, which is really interesting. And while OpenRTB is more of day trading. So, can you walk us through what changes for a buyer the first quarter? They treat advertising more like for portfolio management.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this. I strongly believe that there's a value in programmatic. There's value in day trading, but when you're a brand and you want to make sure in the long run your investment is all right, I don't think you can only rely on day trading. And if you think about traditional media companies like my employer, iHeart Media, only a fraction of what they earn as advertising revenue is traded programmatically. They have a lot of traditional media and transactions with local advertisers as well as big brands. And these are making long term bets that the best way for them to achieve their goals as an advertiser is to get the brand to do a long term consideration. Because when you do media mix modeling, you don't do that at every minute. You do it on a quarterly basis or long term basis. So you need to have a way to be able to execute and get long term return on that investment. And I think Agentic can make that a reality. And also, it's not just focused on a single dimension. Most of the day trading or programmatic is based on the quality of the ID. This works really well when you're in a logged in environment, whether it's a platform or when you're on the iHeart app to continue with iHeart. But as soon as you consume podcasts on a third party environment like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on YouTube, which is a login environment but not controlled by iHeart, or if you think about linear radio broadcasts, then
Falls apart.
it falls apart. You could append IDs, but then you're undervalued because you only value at the moment of the transaction, but on the repetition, like if it's somebody listening to a podcast every day of the week because it's a daily podcast and has been listening to that podcast for the past, let's say, 10 years.
Right.
There's no way to surface this in the OpenRTB protocol. You could do it via metadata partner, but it's not intrinsically considered in the transaction. With Agentic, you can bring all of those like metadata and knowledge and make sure it's properly valued. And it's the same with like a Financial Times subscriber. If you're paying the premium tier and you're consuming the FT every day of the week for an hour, that has a value. But it's not being surfaced on a programmatic transaction.
Do you think that media mix modeling as we know it today will be gone in the next 2 or 3 years?
Actually, on the contrary, I think it's more usable because I think the problem of day trading is you need to be fast. And to be fast, you need to find the lowest common denominator, which is reductive.
Yep.
And if you can bring different type of measurements and touch points and data points, and you no longer rely on having the same structure of data. The data has to be structured because garbage in, garbage out still exists in agentic, but you don't need to standardize at the lowest common denominator.
That makes sense. Where do you require a human in the loop today? And how do you think about trust and governance along the workflow process?
I think you always, so first is you always need human, we call it embedded human judgment, because from our perspective, the difference is you don't want to have kids playing in the living room, breaking a lamp, going back to the parents saying, oh, shoot, we broke that lamp. You want to make sure that they will never go in the living room to go break a lamp. So we want to keep humans on the hook, but also is the critical thinking of humans, which is really important. So it has to be embedded at the get-go, hence the embedded human judgment. We don't want to have an agent going rogue and nobody accountable for. So if you take, for instance, a transaction of like, let's say you spend typically 10,000 and it goes to 100,000, you want the buyer to authorize this because suddenly it's above the spent range. But you also want the seller, the human behind the seller agent, to also prove this. So basically, you have two humans that will have authorized something not aligned with what was expected. So the whole thing is built to make sure that there's always a human accountable and traceable in that decision.
Well, I think my next question then is, it's, let's say it's 2036. What's one job in advertising that does not yet exist today? And what's one that doesn't exist any longer? Do we have agent babysitters now? Making sure no one's breaking lamps in the
Yeah,
living
maybe
room.
looking at the iHeart cafe, maybe you'll see agents, robots talking to each other rather than humans. But joking aside, I think I'm often saying that the ad tech space is not a software as a service business. It's a form as a service. We force humans to fill up forms at the infinite. If you think about an ad server and SSP, you have a huge amount of fields and things you need to fill up. And I think it's the wrong way to use humans. We're using humans for their input as like often dumb input. They will just copy paste stuff and they're not using their brain, they're not using their curiosity or using their. So if we can get rid of all of those jobs that are more stopgap of poorly built software and IT systems and use humans for their brain curiosity, intelligence. So all of that jobs that is the stopgap should be gone. And all of the jobs where you use your brain intelligently should be where the job is in the future.
Okay, well, the future looks bright in that vision. So
All
thanks so
right.
much, Ben, for joining me.
Thank you for
Appreciate it.
inviting me.
Yes.